Well. For the second time in just about 10 days, India have been given a serious scare by one of their friendly neighbours. They came one hit away, Bangladesh, from causing the upset that a number of people did not expect. Yes, they've beaten India in World Cups before, but everything suggested that India would get the job done. Eventually, they have, in spite of Liton Das playing an innings to remember for the ages. And to add to all the drama, there was rain, there was a revised target, revised playing conditions, perhaps some question marks on whether the players were asked to come back onto the field too early. And the minute they did, Liton Das was run out by the brilliance of KL Rahul and slipping a little bit on his own. As a result of that, you could say that Bangladesh have just missed the opportunity to go top of the table, and that position is now India. 6 points. It still doesn't confirm anything. That's just how close this year's World Cup has been. They will still have to get the job done against Zimbabwe on the final day of the Super 12s. But they live to fight another day, courtesy Arshdeep Singh, ensuring that last over was on the right side for India's result. Tom Moody and Robin Uthappa look back at what was nothing straightforward about that game, boys, as we thought at half time on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Quick Info T20 Timeout. What a wonderful game that was, Robbie. What an intense game and an intense finish.
And all thanks to Liton Das.
Yes.
And I thought he batted incredibly well. Just the start they got off to, and just felt like, man, these guys are in. We were so wrong at that half-time. But yeah, it's a beautiful game and entertaining to watch. You got to feel bad for the Bangladesh team, and they played some exceptional cricket to have come back the way they did after India got to 184. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, what could Bangladesh could have done differently? I think maybe sending Mossadegh maybe slightly higher up.
Sure.
You never know, because...
Little things, just fine margins, but just take me through your reactions watching those first 6-7 overs when Liton Das single-handedly has taken the game away from India. Tom?
Well, we've seen him do it before. We know he's a dynamic player, and he was on tonight. He was really on. So if anything, the rain break sort of threw his momentum. And also sort of created a bit of a, you could just sense also just with a few of the pitches before the teams went back out after the rain break, there was a little bit of tension there around whether they should be going out. There was a lot of conversations going on with the captains and the umpires around, obviously the overs remaining, the runs required. Yes. Do we need to put another rope around the outfield? All the usual conversations are had around, when you have weather intervene. I look back on a couple of things. I look back on that performance from Bangladesh. One, I do feel sorry for them because I felt that, they had the game in their hands. But on the other side of it, I felt they were sloppy in the first half of the game.
Yeah.
So that's cost them. Ultimately, that has cost them because, India ended up with probably 20 to probably 25 runs more than they should have got in their innings, just through missed opportunities in the field and some no balls bowled, just sloppy in general. But wow, what an innings from Liton Das. That was special. It's nothing better, isn't it, seeing an opener take off like that.
I'd like for you to put in perspective that was just excellent batting and not necessarily bad bowling from India or India's bowlers expecting that, we got 180 on the board, we'll do this?
Not at all. Actually, what was extremely pleasing to watch was that he never looked to hit the ball in the air, and then he looked to hit more through the line. And when he did that here with the bounce being so true, he got the most out of it. He was, he played exactly in the areas where the fielders were up. So in that sense, a lot like Surya, because Surya does that so often and so well. And Liton Das did exactly that today, and just great. It was one of those days. They say that athletes have 6 days in a year where everything goes exactly to plan. It seemed like that was one of his
6?
That's not
just 6
really?
6 days in a year where everything goes...
Not even a week?
No, not even a week.
Can't give me one more day to make the week up?
No.
That's assuming you're an athlete. 6 days in a year.
Just one point I want to make. You made a
please.
really good point there, Robin, about how Liton Das sort of hit through the line of the ball. The one thing I sort of observed, and this is obviously having the experience I have in Australia and seeing those conditions, day in, day out. Bangladesh, I felt when they were looking to power hit the boundaries, went about it the wrong way. They didn't use the bounce and pace of the ball. They nearly sort of hit against the tide, if I could put it that way.
Exactly.
Therefore, we saw the ball going straight up in the air. They could have been a lot smarter and sat back and used the pace of the ball a lot smarter instead of trying to bully it out of the park like you would do in the subcontinent.
Yeah. It's not the kind of wicket where you can bully it, and you really have to hit through the line. And you saw most of their top order, middle order batters trying to hit it, like get under the ball. You don't need to get under the ball. You just need to hit through the line.
Yeah, I mean, we almost saw that a bit too late from their wicketkeeper bat Nurul, who came in and then tried playing the field, trying to get one past third man in the last over, hitting one over mid-off, picking and choosing his spots. But they lost too many wickets by then. If I could just go deeper into the points that were raised by Tom and Robin. Firstly, the call to open with Liton Das, something that's where he's been most successful. I think, Tom, today they would have said the call would have been, let's play the extra left-arm seamer. And once they decided, okay, Shoma Sharkar has to make way, then Liton could possibly go up. But it's probably something they should have been doing from the get-go with how he performs at the top.
Yeah, well, it's easier with hindsight, isn't it? Having
20,
seen all,
always.
Exactly. But yeah, when you've got a player of of that capability, and we've seen him do it before, it does seem odd that he hasn't been occupying that top position, because it is such a critical position. I'm sure they've got their reasons, strategically, but it made sense, even though it didn't quite happen for Shuraful today with the ball, but it made sense, the change in their bowling attack. But it'll be interesting to see what their setup is for next game.
Now the point that Tom brings up about the slight, you could say, emotion being shown by the players when the decision to come back on the field was taken. Bangladesh were well and truly in front. I'm sure Rohit Sharma, looking at the game situation, would have been ready to play in pretty much any condition. But it looked like, I'm assuming that the call is invariably to the bowling or the fielding side, since they are more at risk on a wet outfield. Do they ask batters? You've been in enough rain-affected games. I mean, are both captains sort of taken on board, or are you simply just told, we're going back?
In T20 games, when it rains and then there's a situation like that, there's always one team that's a little bit more keen than the other.
Yeah.
And again, it's up to the umpires. I don't think the batsmen are consulted, so to speak.
Sure.
I think it's more the captains who are informed as to what's going to happen. There used to be a time when batsmen were consulted, and it's not the case anymore. And the umpires decide if the playing conditions are good enough for you to go out there.
Yeah, we didn't see a single fielder slip. But we did see a batter slip.
Yeah, and we didn't see the fast bowlers using the towel.
Yeah.
Even in the death overs, and I think that says a lot about the conditions of the ground.
There's got to be something there, because we saw India's throwdown specialist running around the boundary, was brought up on the broadcast as well, with a brush trying to dry shoes off. So clearly there was something going on there. Has that ever happened, by the way? It's an interesting thing. I've never seen it before.
Well, so generally in Australia, I think in what tends to happen is a lot of the soil gets stuck to the boots,
yeah.
And so especially fast bowlers, they like to get them off because they can really weigh you down when you're running.
All right, the run out itself, let's get into that. Brilliant from
what a throw.
KL Rahul.
Yeah. What an unbelievable throw for someone who had taken a cortisone injection before on that right shoulder before going to the World Cup. That's a bomb throw.
It's these little things that are the difference, aren't they, Tom? Winning and losing. It's not your day then. Yeah.
Oh, look, at the end of the day, it was a good throw, but there's a huge amount of luck in that. He hasn't thrown it from 50 metres out to throw the stumps down. He's thrown a bounce throw in, trying to throw it to the bowler's end.
Yeah.
And it just happened to skid off the surface very quickly and hit the stumps. So, yeah, look, very accurate throw, a pivotal moment.
Yeah, I think that's one of those definitions of people for people who don't believe in luck. It plays a massive factor when you play international cricket or at the highest level. You actually tend to see it quite a bit.
We all need it to make those 6 days up in a year.
Yeah, that too.
There were 7 overs, 66. Then they started losing wickets, but Shakib Al Hasan was the key. There were a couple of overs then between Mohammad Shami, Arshdeep Singh, and Hardik Pandya. And 3 overs, they basically lost 4 wickets. India only conceded, I think, about 13 runs or 20 runs or so in those 4 overs. Changed the game. Now, how did India's seamers respond? I'm trying to think of whether this was more Bangladesh after Liton Das panicking, Tom, with the equation, or do you credit India's bowlers for how they managed to get so many mishits?
A bit of both. I think the Indian bowlers bowled that harder length, and the point I made just earlier around the Bangladesh batsmen, hitting against the tide, if I could put it that way. Instead of using the pace, using the bounce, the ball flies off the bat in those situations. In a way, the harder you try to hit it, the worse off you are in those situations. That's what it looked like to me. The the harder they were trying to go at the ball, the worse off they were, finding themselves in. So they just needed to, in a way, just rethink their whole strategy of how am I going to find boundaries and what's my best options.
Yeah. And also, when you saw them bat in that phase in the middle where the Indians kept them quiet, you could see that they were trying to hit sixes of every ball. They were trying to really muscle it, and if they'd just taken some time and just kind of calmed down and said, okay, what's the best way to go about this? They would have probably figured out another solution.
Ifs and buts for Shakib Al Hasan and Bangladesh to just look back upon. It's 2 points they would have fancied just before the rain came down, and they only came one hit from actually getting them. Now, you look at Arshdeep Singh's figures and you think he's nearly gone at 10 on over, but he bowled a game-changing over, got rid of Shakib, picked up another. He then conceded 26 of the last 2, but you'd still think that's a job done. In the revised playing conditions, you would have only allowed one bowler to bowl 4. And it's nice to see that it looks like Rohit Sharma now sees Arshdeep Singh as India's #1 bowler in these situations.
And why not? I think he's delivered. And I think in 3 overs he had probably given away maybe 20 or so.
An expensive first over, Litton took him for 3 boundaries.
Correct. Yeah. So I think he tidied up in his second 2 and then came back in that last over and still bowled well. There's enough that error in the first ball. On in Adelaide you want to be more full than hitting the hard lengths. And he's got a good Yorker, and it's good. It was good to see him go back to that after that 6.
He's got Bhuvi, he's got Shami. I think Arshdeep's been playing international cricket for 5 months, but he is India's #1 T20 bowler. It looks like, Tom.
Yeah, look, I think the other thing that needs to be pointed out is that his motor was running. Yeah. He'd been bowling after the rain break, where Bhuvi hadn't bowled. He'd bowled 3 overs prior to the rain break. So from a captain's point of view, you're also looking at, okay, who's up and running, whose motor is running, and I'm not taking anything away from the decision. I think it's the right decision, but I think Rohit Sharma's spoilt because Bhuvi also, in my view, is also a very good finisher.
Yeah.
In a tournament where we've seen a number of catches go down, Tom, it looked like India had possibly their best half an hour, 40 minutes in the field, especially with those high catches.
Yeah, and it's never easy with the lights. At night time, when it gets sort of above a certain height into that sort of night sky, it's difficult to judge, how the ball's dropping. So, India did do well, and they got a couple of key fielders on the ground too, with Huda out there.
What are you trying to say, Tom?
He's a good fielder.
What are you trying to say? Only half an hour, 40 minutes of good fielding. They fielded the whole game.
You could see the intensity though of that period of play.
They took some key catches. They really did.
Right. Yeah, they had a good day on the field.
Yeah.
They had a great day on the field.
No, I'm just saying they dropped a few before.
But to be
Virat Kohli dropped one the other day. There have been a couple of chances where you don't expect it to go down.
Yeah. To be fair, they've got a pretty good fielding side in, haven't they?
Yeah.
There's maybe a couple of question marks, but apart from that, there's plenty of good options to fill key positions.
Yeah.
All right, India live then. All right, they've had a tough Super 12 campaign, a real trial by fire against South Africa, one of the most epic games against Pakistan, and boy did Bangladesh run them close. They got a good one against the Netherlands. They'll be hoping for that against Zimbabwe. But are you a fan of these tough wins in the Super 12s?
I am, and because I think it creates momentum. And in tournaments like these, especially in T20 cricket, you want momentum going your way when you go into the knockouts and the back end of the tournament. And I think it's very crucial to be able to respect momentum and not take that for granted. And India have done that well so far in this tournament.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of whether there are still points of concern. So many positives, Tom, that Rahul got runs today, Kohli continues his form, but they could have easily lost this game. So is that down to just Bangladesh playing particularly well? Are you still thinking there's something India can take away from this game and say we're getting too close, or we should be perhaps ticking these boxes as well?
Not necessarily. I think you can read too much into situations. If I was India, I'd be very pleased to sort of wriggle out of that situation and respect the fact that there was an outstanding individual performance that put us close to the line, and that was Linton Das. So respect that. But apart from that, let's just look at it from a standing back viewpoint. A lot of boxes being ticked on the batting front. The bowling front's working quite nicely. They've got a nice option, with regards to changes in the 11 if they need to, according to conditions and according to opposition. To me, they're in pretty good shape.
All right, we leave it there then. Thank you very much to both Robin Uthappa and Tom Moody for their time and their thoughts. We'll have both these fine gentlemen tomorrow for what's again a big fixture in this particular group. South Africa against Pakistan. Pakistan would have dearly hoped that India slipped up today to just bring them back into the equation. It could still work for them with slightly unlikelier results, but they need to first get the job done against Temba Bavuma's side at the SCG. So do join us for that one. It's just the one game tomorrow, so 1 o'clock if you're in our part of the world. Look forward to your company then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricinfo T20 Timeout, and of course the Cricinfoverse with Grand Vitara. We can build your own avatar and have a look at the Cricinfo studios. Also check out the very stylish new Grand Vitara by Maruti Suzuki. Just head over to the Cricinfoverse tab on our homepage. All right, we look forward to your company tomorrow, so do join us then. Bye-bye.